I want to welcome you to the Charly Crawford podcast. Let's ride.
Hi, I'm Trevor Brazil.
My name is Corey Kuntz.
Hi, I'm Gina Nogueira.
I'm Luke Brown.
Hi, I'm Tyler Wade.
I'm Caleb Driggers.
Miles Baker.
Wesley Thorpe. Paul Eves. Patrick Smith.
We ask so much out of our horses that recovery is crucial, and that's why I use Equinety.
I've been doing this a long time. What I have in common with these ropers is we all trust Equinety.
I feed Equinety because I want to give my horses any edge.
My horse.
My horse.
My horse. My horse.
All my horses have the Equinety edge.
You got pretty good Wi-Fi?
Yeah. This truck has good Wi-Fi. I don't know if it's a Starlink, but it's pretty good Wi-Fi. And I'm
so
just
trucks, they've got Wi-Fi in it now, huh?
Yeah. And I pulled over here to this convenience store kind of on the main drag by the arena because I knew if I stayed right there at the trailer, I'd have a 16-month-old little girl coming over here beating on the door for too terribly long. It's about 8 o'clock. She's about to get up. So
nice.
Yeah.
So how is it rodeoing with the little one?
I love it. Obviously last summer she was too little to get too much fun out of it, but now that she's the age she is, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, it never stops. It keeps getting to be a fun age on the next one, and that's pretty cool.
Yep.
What were you guys at Canby last night?
Yes, Canby last night.
Yeah, home of one of the biggest legends around there, I heard.
That's what they say.
They've been redefining the term legend ever since.
Yeah, Marcus Marriott's the new legend there. He won the college finals the other day.
That's right. That's badass.
So,
what did you guys get done over there last night?
We didn't do any good. Honestly, we didn't do good on either steer. We went to two headers so far this week, and we haven't done good at either one of them. So we're 0 for 4.
Well, man, a good start last week. Come from 12th over there at Hermiston to 3rd. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. One of those short rounds that it was a good day to catch clean because nobody else could.
Yeah. I seen you had a leg on the way in.
Yeah. Don't tell Logan you've seen that.
He must have handled that one like shit because I never seen him rope a leg when I was heading for him.
Yeah, he told me.
He told me.
Yeah. I haven't ever told him this, but I wanted to tell him before. My 2 most pain in the butt partners were him and Joseph.
Yeah. Now, Logan was the easiest one I think I've had. Joseph, abso-freaking-lutely.
Yeah.
Dude, when we were driving, I remember we headed to Denver for the qualifier. And he's like, all right, Chuck, I'm going to tell you, like, I'm not going to be one of them guys that's going to fall asleep on you right here. Like, I'm going to stay right beside you the whole time. And I'm like, Joe, I don't need you to talk. And honestly, that actually puts me to sleep. Like, take a nap because I'll drive, but I'm going to hit a wall right around 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And when I'm done, I'm done. And I'm going to be that guy that you're making fun of because when I'm on the passenger seat, my ass is going to sleep.
Right.
Oh, you're that guy. I'm like, yep, I'm that guy. Hey,
That's
I was
funny.
driving. I pull over, and then he starts driving. It's no bullshit, Coy. It's about 45 minutes later. He starts rubbing on my shoulder. He goes, "Hey, Chuck, I'm kind of getting tired."
I've done it. This time of year in 2022, I've been there. And then when you drive, you are not allowed to go over about 73. I'm like, Joseph, we're never going to get anywhere. The speed limit's 80. People are going by us so fast, they're about to suck the fly mask off our horses.
He told me on that way to Denver. Like, we had so many good stories on the way to Denver. I'm like, Joe, this is not a UPRA rodeo. We're not going 4 or 5 hours. Like, this is a 12, 13-hour trip. Like, I drive, you sleep. You drive, I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
That way, when it's time to drive, like, you're good to go.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'll tell you another thing. I'm not going to be one of them prima donna ropers where we got drivers and all that stuff. And I'm like, do you remember the last year I think he rodeoed in 2020? He had a driver. Like, he was by himself. Like, it was awesome.
Oh, yeah. If Logan wasn't so easy, it wouldn't be a funny comparison to compare him to Joseph, but they couldn't be more opposite. So that's my favorite to do is tell him, like, dude, you're like Joseph.
I know it. I know it. One year I was roping with Dustin Double D,
Yep.
and we rodeo. We went on the fourth of some UPR rodeos around here, and I'm like, man, I was thinking like we'd go to Abilene, hit the steakhouse, go over there to another jackpot, get over there to Amarillo, hit the steakhouse. Like I've got all these things. Got me some beer loaded, got me some Copenhagen ready, like rubber. Like my trailer's gonna be the coolest one there, right? Like I got it all. All we did was rope. I mean, we went to one jackpot, barely got in time with another one. And I'm like, I told Double D, I'm like, man, I thought for sure we were going to be able to maybe get to the rig a little bit early, have a couple beers, go to the steakhouse. I'm like, all we're doing is driving around and roping. He goes, were you always this big of a pain in the ass when you rodeo? I said, no, I just wanted you to feel what it was like to try to get Joseph to his first rodeo or first NFR.
Yeah, for sure.
That's exactly what he did.
Surely he knows. They were roommates in college.
Yeah, he knows. Yeah, he was telling me about your driving.
Joseph was?
Yeah. I figured it checked out because when I called Logan yesterday, you're in the back seat. So I'm like, well, it looks like Logan's got him back there where he needs to be.
Well, Logan is a prima donna guy because he does have a driver right now. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. What time did you guys get to Caldwell?
Shoot, probably 5:15. I think I drove us to that Flying J or pilot there at Stanfield, and I woke Stratton up and let him get us the last 3:15 or 3.5 and
Get over the
got
mountain.
some sleep. Yeah. I figured I'd let the 18-year-old that's never drove before go over Pendleton Pass.
No. Oh my gosh. No, I would have never done that.
Yeah.
Never done that.
If we don't let him do it now, he'll never learn.
That's one way to do it. It's kind of like back when you were a kid, like you couldn't swim. Like back in our day, your dad would throw you in. Like, all right, figure it out. It's kind of the same.
Hey, he's a super good kid. He's from Louisiana. He's pretty green, and
I would think green throwing him from Louisiana to the mountains. Yeah.
Yes, and as we've been going, like he'll kind of ask some stuff that you're like, man, I feel like you should know that, but okay, and so kind of Logan will be giving him a little bit of some homeschool teaching along the way, and he's kind of doing a little of that here and there. And we're driving, we get right there, we get over there close to like the Dalles along the Columbia River, and we're driving, and on our GPS on the truck screen, you can see the red state line right there. And we had just got done talking about time zones, and he didn't have a real good idea of how or why we had time zones. He didn't really understand them, and Logan's kind of trying to teach him, and he at least acts like he's getting it. He's given, he's at least faking us that he's getting it. So we're like, okay. I said, Stratton, do you know what that red line is right there on our GPS? He thinks about it for a minute. He says, is that the equator? If I'm lying, I'm dying. He says, is that the equator? Me and Logan almost peed ourselves. We are laughing so hard. We're like, the equator? Well, I mean, you could have came up with train tracks, anything but the equator. Equator. Yeah. I'm like, what? He said, well, I don't know. So then I'm like, that's a state line. I'm like, Washington's right there. He's like, oh, okay. I'm like,
is that where the president lives?
Yeah. I'm like, golly, the equator. Holy smokes.
Love it. I love it.
So,
yeah, Joe was telling me about when you was convinced that you didn't have to latch that trailer hitch on the gooseneck.
Oh, that's one of his favorite stories. And that we weren't even roping then. I was 18. I was headed to my second pro rodeo ever was Corpus Christi. And they used to have the jackpot at Sinton. They had Corpus Christi. And then there was like Jordanton and a couple that Lufkin, a couple of the like just smaller Texas circuit rodeos. And that was when all y'all went to the circuit rodeos because you didn't have to count them, but you could still make your circuit finals. And I was staying at Paul's. Jack was being born, so he didn't go to California. And maybe we had decided we were all taking a few horses, and Doug was roping with Corey Clark. I was roping with Joel Bach, so he was going to meet us down there. And Paul was with us, and I think he was maybe roping with Lovell. So, of course, Lovell was going to meet us there. And so, I think 3 of us decided we needed 2 trailers for some reason. So me and Clark are together, and Doug and Paul are together. And I drive us almost to San Antone. or maybe Clark drives us almost to San Antonio, and then he's like, "Hey, I'm a little tired," so I get in and we get going, and I wasn't on the phone or nothing. I just kind of started to fall asleep a little bit, and I run my duel up on one of the like those concrete barricades they 45 down at the bottom, and I hit my duel on one of them, and it shot the back end of our truck up, and the trailer flew off the ball and landed right into my bed of my truck. And Paul, he got out. He said, "Oh," he never said, "You all right? What happened?" He's marching up the highway. He says, "If one of them horses are hurt, I'm kicking your ass," he said.
That's if I was okay.
Yeah, I'm
or
like, I literally looked at him. I said, "I'm good." I would like to know Joseph's version, because I'm sure it got twisted to.
He was convinced that he's like, "Hey man, I tell you, they say you don't have to hook this trailer hitches. It's not a big deal. It won't come off." And he goes, "Yeah." Then he ended up hitting the trailer hitch in the back of the cab of the truck.
Yeah,
well, that's one way to figure out. Well, we can turn that stone back over. We don't have to do that one again.
Yeah, they lied. I don't know who they are, but they're wrong.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah,
So.
he was. Joe was telling me about when you were helping him, maybe at the World Show or something like that. He said he couldn't hardly get his heel horse in the box because he said he had so much of that Jimmy Choo on right there. He said his horse was freaking scared of all the scent. He couldn't get him in the heel box.
Jody, she calls me Jimmy now, and a lot of people would think like maybe it's something to do with the new Yellowstone or something. We go to get in the truck. We go to get in the truck the first morning. We go to get in the truck the first morning, and she's like, they all call me Roy. They have for years. And she's like, "Roy, what kind of cologne do you have on?" And I kind of laughed. I said, "It's Jimmy Choo. Why?" And this Jody thought that was so funny. She said, "Joseph, you need some Jimmy Choo cologne." And that's been Jody's name for me ever since, is Jimmy. She's the only one that calls me that. Her and Jackie Oakes, their client and good long friend, but they call me Jimmy, and it has nothing to do with Jimmy off Yellowstone, for anybody that's wondering.
But that's still funny too. Because I can see Jimmy on Yellowstone not latching the trailer hitch.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure he done a lot of dumb stuff.
God damn it, Jimmy!
Yeah. Joseph's kind of like Rip, only not near as tough.
My favorite one was that one year at the Paternities when you had that mullet, man. It was awesome. Like I'm so envious of mullets, and I'm so glad there for a while they came back, because I wanted one forever. Like I grew up in the 80s, so like that was mullet, that was a time for him. And I think when I think you walked by Hunter Cook and he's like, "Hey, Travis Tritt, you got you got the extra rubber?"
Yeah. It's a little hereditary for me to be bald, and so before long mine would be a skullet, so I've cooled it down on the mullet deal.
Yeah, I don't think they could ever get old. Those are still the coolest ever.
That's right.
Man, the team ropers back then in the late 80s, like Bobby Hurley, he had a badass mullet. Lynn Cowden.
Oh, yeah.
There are some guys, man, they rocked the mullet freaking outstanding with the straw hats.
I tell you, the other day, I was bored. I left Garrett's and Ozzy's last week. I stayed there pretty much all week. We didn't have anything till Baker on Thursday morning. And, he's one of my very good friends. I look up to him a lot as far as, he's just a good friend of mine, and he helps me with a lot of entering. I send him my videos and the whole deal. And I was bored, and I'm like, he made the finals in 06 and 08. I was born in 01, so I just vaguely remember him even roping at the finals, So I'm like, I'm going to go watch some old videos. So I pull up 06 NFR. Well, it ain't like, they don't have just a whole lot of archives of the NFR, but they had a round 10 06 NFR. I pull it up. Garrett's got brown, dark hair to about right there. It made it look like his cowboy hat was like a tiny brim because his hair fluffed out all the way to the back of it. And I'm like, that was back when that was cool,
Yeah. Yeah, he was a G, man.
Oh, yeah.
Not only sticking steers with a mullet, all of it. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that was a cool cat, man. The Tanazis, those guys are freaking cool like Fonzie. Both of them. All of them. They're awesome.
Jade told me the other day he calls Uncle Brett David Lee Murphy.
my favorite nickname you got is Scrapper. Like that's like
Yeah,
to me that's the ultimate one because I was real leery about getting you on the podcast. I'm like, gosh dang man, if I offend you, like I'll know you'll go.
yeah,
Like
yeah. Well,
there's videos on it. Like I'm like I know man, if I offend him too much, like this something that'll go right here.
it's. I mean, it is proven. I'm not saying you got something to worry about, but no, I don't. I just when I was a kid. I mean, my dad. He we just grew up that way. Where we grew up, I mean, I know you've been to Sikeston. You've drove through the part of where I'm from, and we don't get Saturday Night Live till Tuesday morning around there. So it's pretty country. I mean, there wasn't much to do except drink beer with your buddies, maybe fight them if they made you mad, and pick ticks. That was the three things you did for fun.
Big ticks.
Yeah.
So that's the part where you were from was down there in that part. I love Sikeston. It's a great rodeo.
Yeah. Yes, I grew up about an hour west of Sikeston, right there. Where I'm from, they call it the foothills of the Ozarks. So, like the Ozark Mountains that go through Branson and over in northern Arkansas and stuff. Yep.
And
Right
then
there,
Lambert's, home of the famous
Lambert's.
roll toss.
Yep. Just got my fixins the other day when we were at Sikeston.
Yeah, when they the waitress comes around with a bucket and you want some what is it, macaroni and tomatoes?
Yes, macaroni and tomatoes, some fried taters, fried
Okra.
okra.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you can just tag the shit out of somebody when they walk in with a roll too. Like that's the best part. You don't even see it coming. Like you can just
100%.
and they don't throw you out for it. Like it's great.
Nope. Nope. I think it's just kind of a
Legal.
food fight. It's a food fight with a restaurant built around it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they bring him in by the bus loads. I mean,
I'm
they just
telling
come
you.
in on a bus and just I mean, it's a tourist attraction for sure.
Yes, for sure. For sure. And it helps that it's right there off the interstate too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I still
So,
remember Paul was telling me about and Joseph, they were both telling me about I think that time when we when you were scared to go to Graham, if I remembered right, that one time. Maybe you were a young kid.
oh yeah, Joseph. He's got to just stir it, don't he? I like how he's come up in all of our conversations. He's been a pain in my butt for I don't know how long.
He's been a pain in my ass ever since I rode with him.
Yeah, and Paul's worse. We can't even. We don't have enough time to go down that road. I don't.
Paul's
Neither one of us
sneaky.
got enough storage on our phones or
Paul's
laptops
sneaky.
or whatever we're using. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, he's Japanese. He's like a Japanese
He's a ninja.
spy. Yeah, he's a ninja. Yeah, I've called him worse. Don't worry. To his face, even.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe's not a ninja. He's everyone knows when he tells a story.
Yes.
Yeah, Paul's sneaky with it.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, they said they had you convinced that when you got to Graham that I was I think you're trying to date my daughter if I remembered right.
Do you remember when you walked by and Joseph said, "Oh, Roy, they call him the 5-finger death punch," he said.
Oh, them two.
I'm pretty sure I just put my head down and acted like I was busy doing something.
busy. Yeah. 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 Keeping your head in the roping.
Yeah, I gotta go put some rubber on my saddle horn.
Oh man. Yeah, Joe, I've never had anybody feel closer than a brother. Gosh dang,
Yes.
the crap we would talk oh yeah. The time I remember that one time he'd roped a leg for I don't know how many times in a row or something like that, maybe about Coeur d'Alene. And he was bad when he'd rope a leg. I call it the putter throw, like off Happy Gilmore when he missed the putt. And here comes the putter throw. He roped a leg, and here comes the rope. And he freaking hit me in the head at Spanish Fork. And of course, back then I thought it was funny. Well, his tensions get tight toward the end of the year. He ropes a leg over there at Coeur d'Alene, and he gets back and he's throwing buckets. Well, he had no idea that I was walking around the corner when he freaking threw a bucket. And when I'm telling you, it grazed the top of my hat, and I'm like, "Oh, so we're doing this now." And we had a bucket throwing contest at each other for I don't know, probably 3 minutes. But yeah, it was so funny though. Later, yeah, it was like, and then after that, we were good. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
this is how it's supposed to be.
Yep.
Get it out. Now we're done.
Yep. Yep.
It's funny. Well, man, talk about a little bit, Hermiston had to be a good, like, because talk about that rodeo. Son of a buck, 61,000 added, you know, sneaking in at 12th. It still gives you a shot. But man, the game, you won the short round.
Yep.
End up
Yep.
third in the average. Man, for where you guys were in the standings, talk about now. I mean, that brings you up there to number 8 in the world with 98,000. But talk about that rodeo. Man alive, that thing came out of nowhere and added some serious money.
Yes. And that's what Logan and I talked maybe after the short round or driving or something. And I said, that's where I'm glad that we have the tactic we do is both of us agree the best way to do it at the 2 headers or 2 in the shorts is to go out the first one. Maybe don't do try things you're not capable of, but go at the first one, and that's what we did. And we won second in the first round, so we were already guaranteed. We won $4,917 or $71 that day in the first round. Come back, had a little tough luck on the second one, but you're exactly right. That rodeo is so good. Our tactic in the short round was to get a time. My dad always taught me when I was a kid that when you're on those short rounds like that, those ropings where you're in a spot where mathematically you can't catch them on time. It doesn't matter how fast you go, you can't catch them on time because of how far they are ahead of you. But if they stub their toe, you're going to beat them. So make them come beat you. That's what he used to tell me when I was young and going to the S Opens. If I'd be 8th, 9th call, maybe got a leg or got a barrier or had a couple runners or something, he'd say, hey, you can't get second and third high call by going fast, but you can get them if you get a good clean time, and they don't. And that's what we did. That was our tactic, and that's what we did. Our plan was just try to make a good, solid run, place in the short round, hopefully clip them for 6th or down in the average was what we were thinking. And you know how those short rounds get. They've been that way for years. It seems like every year Greeley, sometimes staying on your horse gets you paid, and I've seen Reno get that way, and that's just kind of the way Hermiston got. Hermiston's never had a short round in my time. I don't know if it did, when it first started, but now that they've added so much and they've made it a 2 and a short, I didn't know how it would get, but I had a pretty good idea that if we made a good run, it was going to pay off, and it did,
Well, how much do you feel like, for one, I think there's two kind of reasons a little bit, and I'm curious what your opinion is. One, you guys are so used to going with all them one headers.
Yep.
You get into a rhythm, hit the line, and just throw.
Yep.
And so that when that happens, there's probably, in a perf of 10, there's probably 2 guys that blast 1 and 3 or 4, and the rest are missing, trying to be 3 and 4.
Right.
And then to come back from that and now take an extra swing. First, will your horse allow you to take an extra swing, whether it's heading or heeling? And then when you throw and that horse is already gone, then when it does to the handle, then the heeler's horse is short because you guys have been going at him so long. So there's a little bit of that. Also, too, is, man, them steers have probably at this point have been, they've been roping them since Cooley City, Sisters. Also, too, how tricky are them steers starting to get now towards the end of the year? Because that was always, Hermiston, you didn't see it as much. Because I don't think they had a short round until probably 2005 or 2004. Because they used to have short round back then, and then it went to a 2-header. But like Ellensburg, that one was notorious for falling apart.
That's another one. Yep.
For one, a lot of it in the end of the year, your horses are getting strong. 2, them steers start, man, them little natives with flat horns, and they're hauling butt, and they lower that head, and because if you take an extra swing and try to get them caught, you're already in the bucking chutes because they're coming left. So you try to go at them, all of a sudden those heads disappear. And it seems like between the cattle that get tough and then rodeoing, seems like them short rounds, man, that's where you start seeing guys with maybe an extra horse right there that are freer, that makes you kind of, or that horse stays free anyway. And then also too is, man, it can get real hard because sometimes them steers get real tricky in them tight spots.
Yes, and I agree with you. However, almost opposite end of the spectrum on the trickiness of the steers, because the last couple years, I think the miners kind of push for this, and the Palmers. What they've done is at Kennewick, they've broke out a fresh set to where we had a fresh set, Kennewick, Ellensburg,
Pendleton.
Pendleton.
Nice.
And so this year, I think with Hermiston being so good, they broke out a fresh set at Hermiston.
Okay.
But like you're saying, they were strong. They were a lot stronger than guys needed them to be. Like you said, it goes exactly along with what you said. Guys' horses were hanging. They were wanting to reach, but they were a little too far out there. Them steers had their tails up over their back, and they knew where they were headed. They had only had a couple runs on them. So rather than them being tricky because they were roped out, they were tricky because it was like being at a good jackpot, you know. And that got some guys. I think I watched a couple guys have to throw their whole rope. Steers hit out on the end wide and kind of buck up and get loose because their horses are cheating down and they're trying to slide a little rope to keep from just pancaking the steer. Like you said, heel horses come through there and they're flattening out, panning out because they're thinking, well, shoot, this guy's supposed to have already thrown by now. And you saw a lot of that, you know.
Now, a lot of those steers used to be back in the day when I was rodeoing. A lot of those Palmer steers were last year's calf roping calves. Is that kind of still are? Because I remember when they would crack them out there at Sisters, when we show up at Sisters, that slack that morning, every single one of them just had the same. You know how the ground be watered and you could see like all the tracks.
Yep.
And all of them were all the same. And I'm telling you, when they nodded, they already knew the snap count. Like they were going just like that.
Yep. They're sharp and all
they already
of them
knew they already knew where they were going.
Yes. Yep. You can just tell. You can tell the ones that got breakaway roped a bunch and stuff, and maybe for some reason, if they had to throw in a few that didn't, there's a night and day difference every time.
Yeah, because them breakaway calves, once you get there, they start letting off, changing directions.
Yep.
There's something too right there, and that rope breaks off, and they do all that, and they kind of have that pattern down even when we start team roping. Yeah, that's when you see later when they start getting real tricky.
Yeah,
real tricky.
Yeah,
but yeah, man, I tell you what, the fourth quarter now though is like, damn, like I remember a little bit in my day, but like the generation before me, like say Jeff Medlin, Logan's dad, back then they were all trying to get the finals made by Caldwell.
Yep.
So that way they could go home because back in the day you were just trading money. There wasn't very many teams. The rodeos didn't add as much money. Man, if you were, almost like if you were in the top 7 or top 8, you almost kind of had it made. You can come back to Texas, rodeo around a little bit, circuit rodeo, get enough where you can stay there. Because, man, if you had to go north, like, man, you were just trading money. That's all it was.
Yep.
Now, man, it's like it's as good as the winter.
Every week from here on out, you've got a really good 2 and a short rodeo. Then you've got some other rodeos thrown in that are also very good, maybe 1 headers or straight 2 headers. You've got Puyallup, you've got Sioux Falls, you've got Mandan now that pays what, $9,000, 15 money, $9,000, 15
$60,000 added 1 header.
1 header. Yep. And I'll be real honest with you, Chuck. I've got, like you said, I've got 97 and some change. I think I need another 30 to be safe. Obviously, that's what not their plan.
I was wondering what you guys would think this year, what it's going to take to make it.
We were looking the other day. My wife locked the keys in my truck at the jackpot the other day, so that was pretty nice. And so I rode back
at least you didn't throw her under the bus.
Yeah. I wasn't going to mention any names.
Right.
I rode back with Steve and Nikki Northcott from the jackpot over here to the Caldwell, and Steve, he was kind of wondering, so we pulled it up, and I think Jake Smith is 4th or 5th with 122,000. I have a really hard time thinking that 11 people are going to win more than that, as far as like to bump that number, not necessarily that roper, but that number all the way out. So let's say 122,000 makes it 14th or 15th. Obviously, you want to overshoot it so that the night before the Stephenville jackpot, you get a little bit of sleep. Um, I Logan has been on me all year. He's been the best thing for me as far as my mentality of don't worry about what it takes to make it. We're gonna make it. We need to worry about roping for a living and winning as much as we can win every week. And that's where I don't even really like when to hear what people talk about I don't even like to hear that number. Oh, I think it's gonna take this. Oh, I think so and so has this many rodeos left. In a way, I feel like I've done a pretty good job of staying in my own lane, worrying about winning as much as I can win. I do think that 122,000 number is safe. I would like to have 182 when I get to the finals, though. That's just the way my mentality is. And I might stay at 97. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. You know how hard it is to win, and you know how if you get on a just a just stuck in a rut, you know how hard it is to get out. And so I'm just trying to worry about doing the best Coy can do.
Well, it's just starting the fourth quarter now, and to me, like, that's a buzzer beater at the end of the third quarter right there at Hermiston. Like, that would,
Yes.
to me, that's the momentum a guys want to carry into this fourth quarter because this is the most even I've seen it look. And what I
Wow.
mean by even this fourth quarter is the fact that, all right, if you're an average roper, there's a lot of opportunity. If you're a one-header guy, lot of opportunity. Like, it looks even. It used to be back in the day, 1, 2 headers and a couple 3 headers. But, you look at, Caldwell's got, 40,000 added, equal money. And it used to never add equal money back in the day. Canby, 19,000, 2 header. You got Burley, that's 6. Probably not a lot of guys are going. Burley doesn't even add equal money. So I bet a lot of guys ain't going there. But Gooding at 20,000. A one header. Moses Lake, 19,000 equal money, one header. So, there's so many even, 2 header, 3 headers, and then 1 headers. And then, Kennewick back up there at 25,000, 3 head, 2 and a short. Is Bremerton a 1 still?
Bremerton's a 1, yep.
21,000 equal money. Dang. Coeur d'Alene, 10,000. Tremont at 22.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
dang, like, you're seeing so many, one, and a lot of those too is like, with that much money added and then one headers, what are they paying? 15 spots?
Most of the better end of especially tour rodeos and stuff that are adding north of about 15,000 are paying 15 monies. And I tell you what I think that's done in return. Have you looked at how tight it is from about 23rd or 4th all the way up to about 10th or 8th? You're talking one guy has a bad week and a few guys have a good week, and you could get moved down 3 or 4 spots. So that's where else I think it's really tight, or like you said, really even, is because everybody in the top 25 still has a very good chance. And honestly, even if you might be a couple spots out, I haven't looked that far down, but it seems like even if you're 25th, you still have a pretty good chance to make the finals, especially if you can manage to get in Piala.
Yeah, because you're 8th at 97. Right now, 15th is 86. So, you're looking, it's usually always right around the 10,000 mark.
Yeah.
And then, 16th drops to 84, and 20th is 78 at Clay Smith. So, that train's starting to roll. Clint Summers, same thing. That train's starting to roll. Corey Kidd, man, he keeps roping like he's been roping. Those guys are all right outside the top 20 right now. That's, their engine now starting to hit some momentum.
And kind of like what we're talking with these high money added average rodeos, you got guys that have a chance to do the same thing I did at Hermiston, where you ding dong them in a round or two and ding dong them in the average. They might have a $8, $10, $11,000 rodeo at one spot. That's not counting the other 3 or 4 they went to that week. So anymore, it's not impossible to have $14,000, $15,000 weeks.
Yeah, because how much did you guys win last week?
We won 13-7, I believe it was, altogether, because we placed at Billings as well. We only went to 3 rodeos last week. Went to Baker, Billings, and Hermiston.
Yeah, that's and like you say, right at the right time. Going into the fourth quarter, get some strong momentum. And, because the goal is, once Kennewick goes, Bremerton, then we're looking at Ellensburg coming up, and I think it's got It's got 40,000 added, equal money. Filer at 18,000 is still a one header, correct?
Yep.
And what about Walla Walla? Is it 2 or 1 now?
They've moved it to 1, which I don't
1.
love for the setup because you know how it's long and they're long ways out in front of you. And if you draw a runner
Gotta
at a
draw
one header
something.
nowadays, yep. Which, and the two headers are still tough, but I like the thought of if you do draw a runner and you got to go 5-5 or 6 flat, you got a chance to come back on a loper and go 4-1 or 4-2 and place in the second round in the average, you know?
Yeah. And also too, but like, you think about, say, like Tremont, $22,000 added, equal money in the team rope, and probably 15 holes. Even if you draw a strong one, you've probably still got a chance for money.
Yes.
With 15 holes, like just a sharp run. Well, then if you got the doozy, okay, all right, now let's let our mullet out. Like let's go ahead and tattoo this one. But, if we got a stronger one or anything, like you get by him, that's probably money.
Yes, exactly.
And then I think after Ellensburg is usually the cut to Puyallup, correct?
It's changed now. This week is the last week for Puyallup.
So this week now is the last for Puyallup.
Yep. Caldwell week
Gotcha.
is the last week. Last year they changed it.
Got it.
This week is the last week for Puyallup. So
Probably helps a little bit with entries, getting ahead of time.
Yes. And you watched a few guys over here at Caldwell that were riding the bubble. You watched a few guys that, I'm not saying they abandoned shit, but their main goal was, hey, even if we miss the short round by 1 or 2 spots, let's get these points.
Yep.
Yeah,
you start seeing strategy change.
Yes.
I like that Puyallup is the cutoffs earlier because, what was hard was to try to go to anything else because you never knew when you were going to get up at Puyallup.
Yep.
So at least this now you kind of know when you're going to be up Puyallup probably before you enter Lewiston, or I don't know what else is going on that week, but that gives you at least some more options, huh?
Yes, it does. It does. And I think they even might seed Puyallup now to where, like, based off where you are in the standings is what set you go in. Have they always done it that way?
No, I think it used to just, you entered it.
Yeah.
And so you never really knew when you're going to fall. So that helps. That helps too. Yeah.
But it's
Lewiston
also
is 16,000 added now, one header. So they bumped up the money there too.
Yep.
And then Puyallup, the cinch playoffs is 77,000 added, equal money.
Yes.
So that one's important in the fact of they take 24, correct, to Puyallup still?
23, and the highest placing team at Springs at the NFR Open that wasn't already in. Yep.
Okay, so they take that. Got it. That's cool. I like that. Get the circuit guys involved.
Yep.
And then so they take 24, and then that one seed in from the finals, Dodge finals.
Yep.
And then I guess the cinch finals now. And then now you have 2 full rounds, and then the average 2 head goes to the final 8, correct?
So I think the way they do it now, Chuck, is they take 4 out of the first set, 4 out of the second set on average.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so you're just roping against your set.
Your set. That's correct.
Oh, man, how much even is that?
Yep.
Because that's what used to give those guys at the end such an advantage, man. You should let them other guys kind of see what all's going on, and then them guys are all there watching. So when it's their turn, they just run you over. Got it.
Yes.
I love that. That evens the playing field. So 4 out of the first set, 4 out of the second set. Those 4 are the final 8.
8-man to a 4-man, just like Houston.
8-man to the 4-man, and then that 4-man, that gets you into the Governor's Cup.
They take those 4 are automatically bought into the Governor's Cup. So then what they'll do is they'll go down in the standings as far as, the way the ground rules read at Sioux Falls, top 8 in the tour standings get in. But if your Puyallup winners and your standings guys overlap, they go down in the standings to take to Sioux Falls. Yep.
So then once Puyallup is done, so Caldwell is done this week. So then you still have more tour rodeos.
Yes, sir.
After this, so like Ellensburg,
Kennewick,
Tremont, and Pendleton, I'm sure.
Yep.
And then Mandan will be the last one?
Yes, I think that is right. Because I honestly think that You don't even enter Sioux Falls till the Monday before it. And I think there's guys that question if they're going to get in that kind of just have to sit on G and wait on O to see if they need to drive to Sioux Falls, South Dakota or not.
Got it. I would think guys would be driving to Sioux Falls no matter what, because gosh,
Yeah.
60,000. I mean, it's one of the best one headers of the year. I remember back in our day, it was San Juan Capistrano, and I think it was
Yes.
40,000 back then. And we were like, damn, could you imagine if they had more of these? And then now
Yes.
they're popping up everywhere. It's awesome.
Yes. Mandan is the new San Juan, is kind of what
Yep.
you hear guys say.
Yep.
I never
Just
got to go
not
to
as
San
not
Juan.
as pretty.
Yeah.
San Juan was ranked, dude. It was so cool.
I never
Yeah.
got to go.
I mean, you
That
get to
was
see
before
Cali,
my
man. The
time.
grass is green. The girls are pretty. I mean, I knew exactly what Guns N' Roses sang about when you got to San
Yeah.
Juan.
Yeah,
It was
that's
sweet.
right.
Yeah. Mandan, a little bit different culture, but the money's there. That's
Oh, yeah,
all that
for
matters.
sure.
Yeah. Then you got Omaha at 10 or 5,000. Does that equal money? But even at the end of the year, it looks like St. George got 9,000 added. Team roping equal money. Even Salt Lake's got another rodeo that adds 10,000. Albuquerque's at 15,000. All one headers.
San Bernardino adds 20 now. It's
20.
over Sioux Falls. So like a guy really needs to enter San Bernardino if you're on the bubble. And if you accidentally don't get in Sioux Falls, you need to drive to California and go to San Bernardino because it'll be a $60-something $100 one header.
And for there, it's going to be hard to get a trade, correct?
Yes.
Because if you get a slack, you can't make it, right? Or can you?
I mean, I'm sure you can with a charter. And if you're in one of those spots where you really need to win, what's your NFR dreams worth? You might have to pay Annie up a couple thousand and split it and get on a charter, because I'm sure you're not the only one that'll get on that charter if you get one lined up.
That's what I wonder, if San Juan makes it to where a slack run could make it back to Sioux Falls or not, because that would be some good planning. I mean, there's rodeos like Stephenville, New Braunfels. I mean, they're not at enough money where I don't know if guys are even going to. Mona's not, I mean, 7,200. I mean, a lot of the guys, unless they didn't get into Sioux Falls and they have enough rodeos, San Bernardino's one you put on there, and then Sioux Falls at 166, almost 167,000 added, equal money.
Yeah.
Like Sioux Falls is rank.
Yes, for sure.
But talk a little bit about after that. Now Sioux Falls is over. You hit you're trying to get that last perf over there at San Bernardino if possible, so you can make both. Because I think the Governor's Cup is over on Saturday night, correct?
Yes.
So then if you hit that last perf and ding him over there on Sunday at San Bernardino, easy flight down there, rope there. Well, then now the team roper's got a special one. Now we're talking about the 377. September 30th, the last day of the season. Did this pop up out of nowhere for you guys, or did you guys see this coming? This is new in a whole lot of different ways to me.
I have mixed emotions. I can't say I didn't see it coming, because the calf ropers have the roping fiesta. Obviously, steer ropers, which they're a hard event, they're not accepted everywhere and everything, and I understand, but they have a few of their own. Breakaway ropers have a few of their own, or did at one time. You would know more than me on that, but I know they did have a couple before, maybe had one at Deadwood one time and stuff.
Yeah, I think Bronx and Breakaway. Yeah.
Yep. And so I'm not going to say it blindsided me. How much it added blindsided me. That's pretty cool of Troy Gibbs to ante up that much money and say, hey, let's have something for the team ropers. I have mixed emotions on it. You hear guys say, oh, jackpotters, you got good jackpotters and got good rodeoers. I'm a pretty firm believer that if you're really exceptionally well at one, there's a pretty good chance you're pretty good at the other. And where I'm different is I strive to be a top guy. Caleb Driggers is getting your money at the jackpot or the rodeo. Tyler, Clay Tryon, they're getting your money at the jackpot or the rodeo. Clay Smith, he's getting your money at the jackpot or the rodeo. And those are the guys I look up to, and that's the thing is I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I agree that we don't need to make it where we have 10 of them a year. I'm not here to say I'm not for having one or two throughout the year somewhere that just kind of make it interesting. I don't mind the thought of a 4-head average roping that counts. And my partner would shoot me for saying this, but I just feel like I disagree with the thought of, oh, it's going to make it where jackpotters are going to make the NFR. No, the best headers are still going to show up and win that deal. You know how that goes. You know, you have your guys that are more jackpotty than others, but your top headers are still going to show up and show out at something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you still have 4 rounds.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
That pay
it's not like it's just
$3,900
all the
apiece.
money in the average. You know, you got
Yes.
4 rounds. If you're a one-header guy, you got 4 one-headers right there. And then if you
4
do good
one-headers.
enough, you got now a short round, you know?
Yes.
So, and if you put them all together, you're probably going to win the average. So, I mean, it to me, it's, do I want to go knock them down or do I want to go at them? So to me, it evens that argument out, I think, a little bit. But like for me, as a spectator now, as a fan, I bought my card yesterday. For one, there's no limits.
Yes.
You know, I was going to buy my card and go to Cheyenne. Well, then they limited the entries on that. And I was like, well, whatever, it doesn't bother me none. But it's like, all right, well, if I was going to buy my card and go to Cheyenne, why wouldn't I buy my card and go to a 5-header right here at the backyard? You can be open one day. And for me as a fan, I get to watch the whole thing go down. I got buddies of mine flying in from Oregon that are coming down. They're like, to watch the last, you know, the roping of the season to see who's in and who's out. Like they're going to, I mean, this is team roping, you know, the top level team roping central right here in Stephenville in this area. So that place is going to be packed. Like it's going to be a cool event, but I'm also curious too, like Sherwood, I had him on the podcast, totally against it. And I can see what he's saying a little bit in his perspective is, well, then where does that stop? Now, is the BFI going to count? You know, like his perspective is like, where does that stop? But, you know, in the fact of, you know, is there going to be more of these taken over instead of rodeos? So I can see both perspectives. I mean, I'm a fan of it in the fact of they have bronc ridings and bull ridings and all that stuff all the time. You know, we could easily do the same, you know, so I don't know. I got a mixed bag, but I don't have a dog in the fight no more.
And, you know, Garrett talked about that quite a bit last week. I'm pretty sure maybe Caleb called Garrett and asked him his opinion and so on. And like Garrett said, he said, I think it needs to be new money. It needs to be something that these guys, PRCA can't drag off the coattail of somebody else. They can't say, oh, look, we're now affiliated with the Bob Fights Invitational, so now the BFI is going to count. I don't agree with that. I think it needs to be new money, something like you said, something new, something exciting. And I also really like that we set a high statutory minimum for added money, 75,000. So it's like now if somebody comes in 35 or 40,000 sounds like a lot of added money. Well, gee, thanks a lot. You added half of what the one in Stephenville did, you know, and I think that's pretty cool because I think it'll keep it from somebody throwing one in during the Reno rodeo and only won 20 grand. You know, I think we set a high standard. If we're going to do it, we set a high standard for how it needs to be done.
Yeah. And like you say, I mean, that was the biggest complaints that I heard of Cheyenne. I mean, gosh dang. I mean, they got annihilated on social media, you know, with.
I'm telling you, I mean, there was guys that won more out of Spanish Fork and Ogden than I did at Cheyenne. And what did I do? I won third in my regular perf, won my semifinals, and won fourth in the rodeo. And I think I won 9,000 total.
Yeah.
The average alone at Spanish pays 7,500.
Did guys make that? I've heard guys made up to 4. Did they make 5 trips there or just 3 or 4? What was it?
Well, you got to think you went for a perf, then you went for a semifinals. You might have had to stick around and go for a wild card. I'm sorry, you might have went for your perf, then you might have had to go for a wild card, then you might have had to go for a semifinals, then for the short round. So who's to say some guys didn't make 4 trips over there? And it's not easy getting to Cheyenne across 80. You know, it's a pretty good drive. It's not like it's unbearable, but it's a pretty good drive from the Utah rodeos. The closest airport that you realistically want to fly into is Denver, or you charter. And charters aren't cheap with fuel prices right now.
This episode is brought to you by NRS. NRS is your go-to for all things Western. From saddles and tack to boots, hats, apparel, and of course, ropes. They're known for carrying the largest selection of the freshest ropes, which is crucial whether you're just getting started out or already a champion roper. Shop in stores or online at nrsworld.com with my 10% off discount code Charlie to save on your next order.
So
Yeah, because I heard a lot of guys making a lot of trips win like 25, 3,000.
yes,
And I was like, dang. But, one of the things I heard was that would help the payout, they thought, because, they still had good money. It's 100,000.
yes.
When you only take 78 guys, that cuts it down, from what I think you used to take 150 to 200. But a lot of guys talked about, man, the fees were real cheap.
They were only 200 and was it, you would know
They
it.
said like
Was it
Burwell. I heard like
$251?
Burwell had higher fees than Cheyenne.
Yes.
You row for $100,000. I'm surprised the fees ain't up because I think the 377 rodeo is going to be like $750 fees.
$750 a
no
man.
limits, taking permits. So to me, the guys that didn't like the fact that they were cut out of Cheyenne, all right, here you go, 377. Here, come on. But the fees are going to be high enough. The money's added. That thing's going to pay. Dang, it's going to pay a lot.
The payout scale I saw was at $750 a man on 75 teams. It pays right at $3,900 day monies, $7,800 average. And you know how that works with it being PRCA? It has to be PRCA scale. So it'll be 8 money rounds, 8 money average. And, the short round will pay. Obviously, it won't pay as much as the first 3 rounds, but the short round will pay. There's going to be a handful of people win $10,000 out of that roping. They're going to ding-dong them in the first round. They draw a loper. They're liable to clip them in another round. The average pays $7,800. There's going to be a handful of guys win over $10,000 at that roping.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it's going to be like game changer. To me, and this is just my perspective, Sioux Falls, you can come from a long ways back. Wouldn't you say?
What place did Clint come from that year him and Jake had to win second or better and they won second? Was it like 23rd?
It was a ways back. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I thought, because that was Coleman and Logan maybe won it that year, correct?
I can't remember. I just know, what's the payout at Sioux Falls? Do you remember? Like, what's first, second, third, and fourth? Do you remember?
Is it $5,000 or $7,500 day monies in the first 2 rounds?
Was it that or 10?
Maybe you're right. Maybe it is 10. I can't remember.
I think it's 10. Yeah.
And then the final day, what is it 20 or 25 a man? Maybe 25, 20, 15, 12, 75 or something. I haven't been since 2023. I haven't even got close enough
to me,
even need to worry about it. But
that one is where I think there's going to be guys coming from a long ways down that can go a long ways up.
Really upset.
I think
some people.
377 is going to be a lot of ways to win money.
Yes.
But it doesn't look like, your 30th guy. I don't know if he's going to be able to sneak in there or not. I don't know if there's enough money. I don't know. It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. I think the only way it happens is if a guy shows up and has a heck of a day and just puts on a clinic. He wins the first round, places or wins maybe another round, wins the short round, wins the average. That's the only way a guy's going to have a somewhat close to $15,000 to $20,000 day, But you know how a jackpot is in Stephenville, Texas, especially one that every PRCA card holder or permit holder can enter. It is not going to be no day off to win a day money. No. And I have a feeling the average isn't going to be easy either. So the odds of somebody showing up and putting on a true clinic in order to win that kind of money is very slim, because there's so many people that rope good. The money at something like that should be very spread out,
Yep. Well, in my opinion, I would think guys would be traveling all over to come. If you're a team roping fan, what better place to go and watch how the end of the season? Well, throw your horse in. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't see how every rodeo team, whether you live in Ellensburg, Washington, or you're a Southeast guy, I just don't see how every rodeo team that has any kind of, like you said, first off, guys that want to come just to say they're coming. But second off, if you have any kind of chance at all to make the finals, you're going to come, even if you're a guy from the Northwest. I just feel like you got to drive to Stephenville, Texas, give yourself one last shot,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be a banger. I think it's going to be packed.
Yes.
Everyone's going to want to see who's in, who's out. The drama is going to be there.
Oh, you're
And
going to see some putter throws, like you said.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, I'm telling you, it used to be Pendleton, man. That's where you'd see guys going in that letter buck room, and it was one or the other. They were usually one of three things. They were already in, they were celebrating. There was guys there that were tight because they're not in yet, and their tensions are a little tight. And then there's guys right there that don't have a chance that are mad at all of them. And that's when you'd
Yes.
see them guys usually sitting outside the letter buck room was the best people watching there was, because someone's going down. You know what I mean? There's a hat stomping, someone's mad. It usually pops out there. But yeah, now you're going to see it in the arena. It's going to be tension going to be pretty tight over there at 377. That's for sure.
I agree. You're going to see some guys throwing some putters, and you're going to see some guys that you couldn't beat them off their high horse with a putter,
I know it. Yeah, and that's I think is a fan favorite to be able to go and watch that and see that. And everyone's got guys they're rooting for. If you're a Team Open fan, what better place? And then, like I say, circuit guy, anybody. I mean, even if you're just getting your card, like, dang, what a great place to go and get to go butt heads with them and watch and see how it all unfolds.
Well, I agree. You know how it is. You've drove farther for less of a say jackpot. So I think even your circuit guys that have they have $20,000 won on the year. If they live anywhere close, they're coming. I promise you, they've drove further for a jackpot that paid less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when guys when I talk to basically I call them civilians, and now I'm one of them. But like, when we would talk about different things in business and talk about risk and reward, and I said, man, you got to understand, like where we came from. You would say San Juan Capistrano back in our day. Usually, you went from Kennewick or Coeur d'Alene or Bremerton, and you usually send a rig all the way down to San Juan Capistrano. So that cost however much money in fuel, however much money right there in a driver, however much money in feed and everything, tolls, all that. Then you usually have to go and buy a plane ticket, fly down, rent a car, show up. Fees are about $400. You probably got another $500 in fuel and driver if you split it up between enough guys. Rental car, $100, plane ticket. Usually a guy had somewhere close to around 2,000 in expenses to get to San Juan, hoping you won 10,
Yeah.
And the amount of I always say like healers have it the worst, because they'll put 2,000 up, run up there, haze one, take 3 swings, and if their header missed, they coil it back up, put it back in their rope bag, tie the horse back up, and head to Walla Walla. You know what I mean? Like, so when we talk about the amount of like risk and reward that we do in a rodeo, and it ain't like a whole lot of other things you can compare in a real world situation.
No, people talk about going to the casino, and I say, I'm not a gambling man. And then I'm like, well, I think I kind of am. I just not
You
in
do it all
the
year.
same way as some people. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. We do it all year. It's just in a different slot machine.
Yes, exactly. At least I have a little control of how much I win.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, what horses you got this year? What have you been riding this year?
I've been all over. I had the brown that Caleb won the American on last year that I got from Caleb last summer that I called Stewie. I kind of started the winter rodeos on him. This chestnut that I've been riding everywhere came along. I've been riding him the most. I've rode him since the Lone Star Shootout, San Antonio, Houston. He was a game changer for me. He came from the same people that my old blue that Tanner and I rode at the finals came from. He's been a game changer. I call him player. I had the really good gray that I've won good jackpotting and done good at the rodeos on and stuff. He got hurt on January 3rd at a roping, and I thought I had him back for the first of the summer, so I rode him a decent amount first part of the summer, and he started getting a little sore on me again, so I I kind of tried to keep him in one spot. And then whenever I got a chance to drive to my mom and dad's before Sykeston, some good friends of mine have a little rehab deal they're starting up. So I left him with them to get rehab. But he was one I kind of started the summer on, and he's on pause right now. I have a yellow out here that I bought for my sister-in-law. He's still a little green to some of the sights and stuff, but we've got enough jackpots and stuff out here now that I'm hoping that by the time I ride him a little bit at some of these ropings, if I have to throw him in, I can. And so really I'm putting a lot of trust into this chestnut getting me through the rest of the year right now.
We'll talk a little bit on the head side. You talk about how many horses a guy needs a little bit, because it always seems like you need about 5 to 6. I would say it seems like now you almost need 4 to 5. And then also whether or not you add on a couple either prospects or practice horses.
Yes.
But like your good ones, usually 2 or 3, usually another one, maybe older you can rely on, then usually another younger one you're taking to a few places, and always put 1 or 2 in the category of these ones are hurt and they're in rehab.
Yes.
It seems that this kind of rotates through that. And you're hoping that's enough where you don't have a black swan event where everything just gets wiped out. Like I've had that before where I've had 4 or 5 head horses, in 1 year all hurt.
Yes.
One colics, one tore shoulder, one suspensory, and it can easily happen.
I think that's what the best guys do. You're well-rounded guys that have the horses that rope good, that jackpot good, that rodeo good. The whole deal is they never quit looking, and you know how that works, especially if you're a guy that can't go give 200 on a whim if something happens. And that's always been me, and that's why people always laugh because I'm always buying and selling and trading and looking. But it's like I can't afford to not have some coming up or have some somewhat on the back burner that are good enough or close to good enough, is because if something happens to that chestnut, I can't go give 200 or 250 for one to get through the year. I've got to have one that I say, hey, you know what? I got this one sitting at home. I know I can get by that sucker for these last 10 rodeos, and you're exactly right. I think that you almost can't have too many, because you got to have, we have so many good jackpots and this and that. You got to have 1 or 2 for the rodeos. Then you got to have 1 or 2 for the jackpots. Well, this horse is extremely good at the tight setup, so I'm going to keep him for Puyallup, Sioux Falls, San Antone, and the NFR. You just almost can't have too many good horses.
Well, it seems like, say you look at Clint Summers and you look at transmission. To me, that horse is set up for the NFR, your better one-headers, indoors, things like that. And then you look at Caleb Driggers, the Sorrel, that he pretty much almost wins the BFI on every year. Horse looks amazing in the jackpots. He looks amazing at Cheyenne, the longer starts, and then you have some other stuff in between. And, I think the first guy I remember seeing that kind of structured that way of looking at things was Speedy.
Yeah.
He had Viper at the indoors, and then he had Bob at the outdoors, and then he had a lot of stuff in between. But you're seeing that a lot where, maybe like say transmission, that horse was good everywhere. He was great at Salinas. Like he had wheels.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, he's 20 some years old now, and, his foot speed's still there, but the legs are always the first to go. In any athlete, the legs are the first to go. And so that horse does his job. He scores, he goes to the steer, he always stays up in the corner and finishes tight. Well, to me, when their legs go, it almost starts making them better for the indoor rodeos.
Right.
Because you don't want to have too much run at the indoors, because then they're outrunning your rope.
Right.
Well, the indoors short setups, it looks like to me, is where they're flat, fast-footed enough where you get your rope going, but almost keeps the distance to the steer where you can use your rope because it's faster.
Yes.
Too strong of a horse, it feels like, on a short scored or indoors, it almost gets in your way because you try to use your rope when they're gaining. They're almost outrunning your rope if they're too fast. Well,
Yes.
It takes too long in those barns and in those little setups. Then you're in the fence, and now that same fast horse, and you get to Hermiston, when you get to, Red Bluff or Logandale or, where you guys are at now, Ellensburg, Caldwell, like to me, that's where you start seeing them ones that'll gain to get to those steers right there where you can use your horse. And it seems like you have to have those in certain there's got to be some strategy. It feels like all right, this horse right here is going to fit this because it's the Walt, remember Walt, Travis Trian's horse?
Yes.
That was a freak. That horse was good everywhere, and you just don't see that much anymore. But
Yes.
also too, man, if that horse is good everywhere, how many runs can he handle it before after a while they start deadening their feet, they start quit working, they start getting sore? So you see guys now strategically now trying to give them horses breaks here and there and ride them at their strengths to where in that way you're not just doling them out, it seems like.
Well, and that, also the miles too. I think it's good if you can say, hey, I know I can make this drive from St. Paul to Livingston, but if I just go ahead and split rigs and leave this horse that's at St. Paul over here for Basin City and Eugene, well, then I can ride that other horse at Livingston, Cody, Red Lodge. Then neither one of those horses have to make that 16-hour track across I-90 back over to the Northwest or back to Montana, and I think that if you can keep your your miles off by doing something like that, that helps a lot too.
Well, I think too, say like the Cowboy Christmas, 4th of July, there's getting to be now where there's so many rodeos. A lot of the Cowboy Christmases is almost it's extended. But just say that for instance, it seems like now there's better rodeos now in the Northwest, and that's coming back. So yeah, having a buddy team now to where you have a rig in the Northwest, you have a rig in the gateways, and then you have another one down below for Pecos, Greeley. You can usually use that one usually for Pecos and Prescott, and then probably to Greeley if you need to, but then having the other one in the north spots right there. So having a buddy team and having to where you can just have a cowboy hat, a rope bag, your saddle and horse and every rig right there. So you can just, no matter what, you can hop on and you can get there no matter what, whether it's trains, planes, automobiles, hooking a ride, getting a rental car, borrowing a stock contractor's car and hauling ass, whatever it is. But yeah, a guy can get there now.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. And that's the thing. That's what's so hard to follow about Cowboy Christmas now. You'll look and be like, man, I bet, I wonder who won good this week. And you won't even look at somebody. Next thing you know, they're like, holy crap, they won 15,000. Where did they get all that one? And you're like, they went to some rodeos that you didn't even really realize you could work and won 3,500 here, $4,000 here. It's just crazy how spread out the rodeoing is now.
Yeah, because that's another good point is that, you can sneak up to Canada. You can go to some of them $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 added rodeos and sneak away and get you your 25, 3,000 in instead of butting heads of some of the guys at 10,000. There's different ways where you can kind of logistically plan how am I going to get to 130,000.
Yes, exactly. You have to get your tour points. I've heard people cuss it and this and that, but you got to get your tour points because Puyallup and Sioux Falls, like we've been talking, are such game changers. But you're exactly right. You see some guys that are like, I could go over here to this rodeo and have to be 4-5 to win 7th, which is worth 2,500, or I could go over here that adds 7,500. But I can go be 5 flat and win 3rd for 3,000. That sounds like a better idea, and you'll see guys do that a lot. I think the only place you can potentially shoot yourself in the foot is if you do that too much, and then you look up and you're 14th in the world this time of year, but you might not get into Puyallup.
Yeah, to me, the highest standards and the highest priority, it looks like to me, is you've got to get to the tour rodeos. You got to hit every tour rodeo. And then after that, then it's kind of personal preference, it seems like, after that.
I agree.
Because you're right.
I agree with you.
Puyallup's got to be there. You got to get to the Governor's Cup one way or another for not only just making sure you're in top 15, but also you guys are roping for a living. Because when we're talking about having 3 rigs, all these planes, trains, and automobiles to get to one or the other, you still got to get that bank account. You got to get money in that account because you're going to have, like I say, 4, 5, 6 head of horses that at any moment, those horses are good enough at one place you can take and haul and make sure you can win on.
Anybody that says you
ain't
can't
cheap.
rope for a living, anybody that says you can't rope for a living is a fool because they haven't looked at how much stuff pays lately. However, it does take a lot of strategic planning, it takes a lot of discipline. And that's something that, it took me a long time to figure that out too,
Well, not only that, just the investment. You're investing
Yes.
so much in it because, 5, 6 head of horses that you can win on, that ain't cheap. Keeping them suckers sound ain't cheap. Making sure your rig is reliable enough to get to the rodeos, that ain't cheap. Almost the easiest part's paying your fees at the rodeo and getting there and roping. The other stuff, that's what so many guys don't realize is how
Right.
much there is behind getting to the rodeo.
Yes, and I think that's another thing I meant with the discipline is you see some kids that maybe they have a little help by their parents or even say they do it on their own, but they're young enough that they don't realize that if you're going to invest this much, if you're going to have whether you gave 100,000 for your horse or not, or your horse is worth 100,000, you you got a couple $100,000 worth of horses, you got $150,000 rig, you got all this money in fees and fuel and sending a rig here and doing this. You've got to be disciplined enough to take full advantage of it too, because otherwise that's how people go home broke in the fall. That's how they go home in the fall and they're begging for some outside horses, or they're begging to get a job, go work for a rope horse guy or this or that so that they can try to recoup some of their money.
Yeah, because that's usually when guys come home, man, their credit card's maxed out, they're ineligible. I've been there. Been there
Yeah.
plenty of times. And luckily shoeing horses, one thing about that is, my dad always said, man, if you can shoe one, you'll never not eat. And there's a lot of truth to that because I could hear a sprung shoe hitting concrete or a
Yeah.
barefoot and 3 feet with shoes on sound. I could hear that sound as it walked across the asphalt, and you're like, yeah, that's the sound of lunch.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like that is so much truth. There's so much investing in it. So what is it now? Like, what is the going rate now on head horses? Because guys will ask me all the time, like, what is it? And I'm like, I have no idea. It's so up and down and where it's at. But like, what is the highest head horse that you've heard so far on record? What has been the highest paid head horse that you've heard so far?
As far as paid, for sure, that I know is not a lie or not a fib or not stretched out there. I'm sure it's around, rodeo head horses. I know there's been some futurity stuff. I don't think that's accurate. I don't think it's realistic. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody by saying this. The guys that are giving 900,000 for horses at the Old West Futurity sale, they had it to give in the first place. It didn't matter if it was for some kind of cool sports car or a beach house or a head horse. I don't want to offend anybody. They've obviously earned that spot in life. However, that's not realistic for what we're doing. Rodeo guys, you hear hearsay on some certain horses and some certain guys. The ones that I know for sure have got to be that 250 mark. I know there's been some horses sold for 250. And I know there's been offers for more than that on horses that have been turned down.
I've
Um,
heard that too. Yeah.
you know, how do you put a price on a horse that fits you perfect, that's 9 years old? That's where I'm at with the chestnut. How do you put a price on a horse that's 9 years old? He's sound. He is so tough-minded, he gets better the more you ride him. Honestly, if you're too nice to him, he can kinda kick you in the butt sometimes just by being just too fresh and feeling too good. And
Yeah.
so, how do you put a price on that? Because you could give me 300,000. I really don't know where I go replace him
Mhm.
because I know of other horses that haven't that have not sold for that. But here's the other deal, and this as well as anybody. When people go to price their horse, here's what they're not factoring in. How many times have you went and tried a horse for 50, 60, 70 and thought, boy, this is cheap for how this horse feels. So you buy him, you vet him, he vets good, you buy him, you take him to a few ropings and you're like, he's good, but he's not that good. And then next thing you know, I don't care who you are, 60, 70,000 is a lot of money. So now you're sitting on 50, 60, 70,000 and you realize maybe he wasn't as good as you thought. So now, yes, you didn't go give 150 for one that doesn't fit you, but you're also sitting on quite a bit of money that doesn't fit you. And that's what I try to get people to understand when they price their horse. They're like, well, you bought so-and-so's horse for 50 and now you're turning down X amount of dollars. So I want 100. And it's like, okay, Charlie, I get you want 100. but you're a 5. You go to the World Series Opens. Your horse is super nice. I love him. That's why I asked about him. How do I know how he's going to stay together at Stephenville, Texas on September 30th when I'm amped up? I'm nervous. I've got to win to make the NFR. Everybody who owns a cowboy hat is at this arena watching. There's 74 other teams that came here to kick my butt this day. How do I know he's going to score 4 times in a row like an idiot, run like his butt's on fire, get on a back left leg, and then just lick his butt and face? How do I know he's going to do that? Because you don't until you do it, you know?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And that's where, I think there's a lot too as a horse is for sale or he's on sale. When a guy's needing
Yes.
money, he's usually on sale. When a
Yes.
guy doesn't need to sell him, to me, that's when they stack it up because he's like, well, I'll sell him, but I don't need to.
Yes.
And then there's the horse that I can't replace. So you can offer me as much money as you want. If I'm roping for a living, I can't sell him. That was always
Yes.
me. Like I'd gotten offered a lot of money, a lot of the horses, that I'd kind of had that were good on the way up and through my ranks, but like I never could sell them because like I can't replace them.
Yes.
You look at it and like, all right, back in my day, like I remember Pook sold one for 100. And
Yes.
that was unbelievable for 6 figures. It was unreal. Almost like $1 million now in a way.
Yes.
But like I remember a few years later, I'd gotten offered that for a horse that I had named Armadillo, but it was like, man, you look at what you win throughout the year, jackpotting and this and that, and you're like, that's what you'd almost win a year on him between jackpot and rodeo. And it's like, well, that doesn't add up. You know what I mean? Like, and then I get to again next year, and then the next year, well, what am I going to find that's going to be able to give me that opportunity?
Right. Right.
So it's always different ways to look at it. Or if you're a trader, you're like, heck yeah, get that 100 and go buy 10 more and figure out how to make that next one. So there's always different ways on how you look at it. I was just kind of like, man, if I got it, I ain't letting loose because I know how hard they are to find. But
I think that's I think that's a spot you're at in your career too. You take a Paul or a Lovell or a Colin or somebody who's in a spot in their career where they're like, I like to have a nice horse when I go to the jackpot, but if I could sell this heel horse for 200 and I can take 200 and I can go buy 5 sweet 3-year-olds for 40 and I can maybe turn all them into 150 or 200, then they split their cards. They're in a spot in their career where they can do that. You know exactly what it's like to be in a spot in your career where I don't have time to be trying to season a horse. If I'm trying to season a horse and he's costing us, Logan Medlin's calling somebody else. He doesn't have time for that. He's going to
now
fade
you
with a
have
fee.
that one that you're seasoning. You go to those little jackpots. You can kind of move along to get them ready for the summer, get them ready for some of the, other events. Totally different because you got 5 other ones right there.
Yes.
That are, that you have. And so that's what it seemed like when we're talking about strategically planning your horses is you needed some old ones, man. You got to have them ones you can get on and go rope. And then you have to have the ones you're bringing along. You kind of keep through that little rotating wheel. But you're right. Now that you got these fraternity guys, now that's what they're doing. They're making them. And to me, what a great opportunity that's created now for guys at the end of their career.
Yes.
My goodness, the fraternities now is giving them guys that are handy like Vaughn On. Gosh, what that guy can do. Joseph, Paul. We're just talking healers. But I mean, gosh dang, the horses they can maneuver and make. And then Trevor on the head side, Ren on the head side. Andy Holcomb's probably one of the most underrated guys. Every one of them horses all look the same. And they all look as easy as Chad Masters' horses where you can just get on and go rope.
Yes.
So now there's different to where there's more avenues a guy can look for. I mean, look at Ren's yellow horse at the NFR last year.
Right.
I mean, guys trying to say that this stuff that they're judging on don't work. I mean, Colton Schmidt wore him out. He don't draw Barry Sanders on that last one that ducks and dives and moved his head around right there. That dude is crowned the world champ. Like gained, but that horse looked the same every time. So you can't convince me that what they're judging on right there doesn't work. To me, that is the bar. Now it's just, does that horse have the ability? Is he upper level ability where he's going down the road, or is he a amazing jackpot horse? Either way, there's two places for him to go, which I love. But there's people now making them. That's what we haven't seen before. You drove all over the world trying to find a needle in a haystack, trying to find that horse that might fit. And gosh, it's almost another occupation. You hear about a horse, you get a plane ticket, you fly in there, you go try it. I mean, the time they would pull away from practicing, it was It's amazing how much time and effort it takes to go try them.
Well, I see some of these guys that get to be done rodeoing and still continue to make an amazing life for their families after
Mhm.
rodeo. They're not a washed up guy that's pinching pennies to keep from losing their property or their truck or,
Mhm.
buy, keep clothes on their kids' back and food on the table, and that's what
Absolutely.
I like about it is if you got some try and you're handy and you're willing to adapt and learn and figure it out, you can make money off of the sport now, not just in it.
100%. 100%. It gives everyone an opportunity. Like I went the school route because like for me, I'm better at it. I do better. I'm kind of like you. I do better with my words.
Yeah.
I'm full of shit. Like I can
Yeah.
go ahead and I can break this down. I can make it easy for you to understand. Now,
Right.
for me outside, like what it does to my back riding that many colts, it's I found what works and what don't. Well, back in the day, schools was all you had. So
Right.
everybody did clinics. Everybody, when they were done, that's down the route, or they went to work. Now the guys that have, developed a craft for 40 some years or 50 some years that are really good at it. Now they can make them. And yeah, it's great now that there's something else that a guy can still do after rodeo where it's not just one designated thing. So yeah, I love it. And then I love the horsemanship side of it. It is so fun to watch what those guys can do with them young ones and,
Yes.
and then watch what they do as they kind of get going. But when we talk about
Yes.
outside of that as well, who do you think is the main guy that like if you needed to go find a head horse, where do you go first?
I think I think it depends on how much money you've got to spend. I just a while ago as we've been on this call, I had a guy call me that's from back home. That's an older fella that's always riding a good one. He squirrel hunts on them, believe it or not, and there's some of those guys out in the country that most people don't even know about that can make a good one because of
Hmm.
they put the time in on them. They're a tool for them. They use them. They trail ride them. They might hunt on them. They use them. But then you've got guys. You've got Trevor, you've got Miles, you've got Ren. You've had some young ones that I've told you in the past that I really like, and I thought you've done a good job with. But you're going to go give full price for them too. They've been in a show barn. Their tail's this big around. They don't have a hair out of place. They've been promoted. They've been shown. They're at their best, and you're going to pay for your best. To me, it's kind of like a deal where you can go buy a car that once you put some new brakes and some new bearings and a couple new tie rods and some new set of tires on is going to be as nice of a car as you can drive, or you're going to go over here to the Mercedes dealership and buy the cream of the crop.
Yeah,
So I
you're
think
ready to
it's
go.
all about
Mhm.
I think it's all about how much you've got to spend, and that's why it's hard for me to give you a name is because I've got I've got the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I've got my list on the best of both worlds.
Well, like your fraternity guys, I think you named them great. I just always remembered Driggers always having something. You talk about a
Yes.
guy that moves them around to find what fits him, and what don't may still be a bad mofo. You know what I mean? And like, because that guy's maybe one of the best jockeys I have ever seen. I mean,
One time he told me
I
we were laughing. Somebody said, "I don't want nothing that Driggers don't want. If Driggers sells it, why do I want it?" Me and Driggers were laughing one time. He said, "I don't remember what year it was. I think he told me 10 horses one time in the first round at the finals he had owned at one point. He had owned 10 of them at one point
Mhm.
that went in the first round of the finals one year." So it's like,
Yep.
obviously they're pretty good, and just because he's selling them doesn't mean that they're not good enough.
There's feel. There's feel, and
Yes.
there's so many different guys that have different feel, and it may be, it may be that what I go and buy from him has enough foot speed where it gets my slow ass swing going to where he may already have one of those that's a little bit better.
Right.
But that one at the time is exactly what I might need. So
Right.
when you have abundance, you can be pickier.
Right.
And that
Yes.
seems like where a guy's like him is just he's always looking, he's always finding because like to me is you've got to have them and everyone's going to have a different feel. And to me, that's when I start seeing guys that's one thing I didn't do a great job of, man, is when I would have the horses, I was building a place,
Right.
and then I never had to where like I can just build so many that I've got so many that I can move and shake around. Because if you don't, almost in my opinion, man, that's when you're behind the eight ball. That's when a guy can get to where man, your foot at the end of the year, where guys
Yes.
have an abundance of it. They're never a foot, and then they're always looking, they're always moving. And that's the guy I've seen that would have something like the Mercedes dealership to where he's probably, if he fits you, he's ready to go.
Yes. And that's where you're exactly right. And I think roping has gotten so tough and it's so fine tuned and everybody ropes so good. Like you said, if a horse doesn't fit you to a T, it's hard to win on him. And I think that's where he's at is you might watch him ride one that you think fits him good, but if he feels the slightest thing that he thinks they could do better for him, it might be the best one you've got. So you can't let pride get in the way of buying him, because just because he's not the best, what Driggers thinks is the best for him at the time, he might be the best one you've got, bar none. And you cannot let pride keep you from buying that horse, because that could be the difference in you making it or finishing 20th. And it's no fault of the horses or Caleb's or anybody's. We're just using him as a standard because, like you said, he's hands down the best at it.
Yeah. I remember one time he came and tried a horse I had. I bought a bulldogging horse that had a good feel. His scoring, man, would just shake you loose too much. He wouldn't stay in the right spot. And then I'm real adamant about scoring and how good and clean they leave, because it would set up my shot. And if it
Right.
wasn't clean, man, it would bust me loose and I couldn't put my rope where I wanted. I was too spoiled on the score. So
Right.
anyways, and he would just get strong like a bulldogging horse. But he had some feel here and there. And I remember he came over and tried him, and I almost bought him back from myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't know that horse could do that. Like,
Yeah.
what he could do and make. I'm like, damn. And then I remember he was like, man, I like him. I see what you're saying here and there. And if I find some guys, I'll let you know. But I was like, I'm going to try to do what he did. This horse has got some game. I couldn't even come close to doing what he did. My rope was
Yes.
hitting there. I about blew my back just the way he would leave. And he never even lost his stride and just ahead of him the whole time. And I'm like, damn, that's when I realized, holy crap, this guy is at a level that at the time
Yes.
I'd never seen. It was
Yeah.
phenomenal. That's when I knew my time was getting close, because I knew what that guy could do. There's 10 more guys like him coming up.
Yes.
There's these little
Exactly.
Thundercats from freaking Missouri that ain't very old, that's got a badass mullet that I knew was coming in hot. When this
Right.
kid figures
Right.
out how to win, there's gonna be nothing nice about it.
You must be talking about Colby Krieger.
Dude, that kid's rolling, man. He's
Oh,
got some
yeah.
game, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of them coming up. Gosh dang, just watching what Tyler Tryon now can do. He's got that same eye of the tiger as his dad.
Yep.
Third generation. I'm telling you, those Tryons, man. If a guy's going to team rope, what do those guys talk about at dinner? You know what I mean?
Yes. Exactly.
Dennis Tryon's breeding fee has got to be pretty high. I mean, we're breeding these
Yes.
head horses for freaking longevity and can you win on them? And Dennis Tryon's breeding them to freaking make the NFR.
That's
You know what I
right.
mean? Damn,
That's right.
it's pretty impressive watching what they're doing. Nicky Northcott, you're watching Denton Dunning,
Yep.
another second generation, third generation cowboy at Catch Kelton.
Yep.
It's cool watching the young kids coming up that can straight up game, and then you got Luke Brown, man, that's just ageless,
Yeah.
that guy's for the love of the game. I mean, he's going to get there no matter what. I don't think last year he cracked in the top 15 until the last week. Does that sound about
Yep.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. But you just
Knows how
don't
to get
count a
it
guy
done.
like him out. You don't count a guy like him out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's done it so long. And I told somebody this about the minors the other day. They said, it just looks like sometimes this, that, whatever. And I said, here's the problem with the minors. They've done it so long and they know how to win. They just know how to win. And there's something to be said about a guy that's clutch and knows how to win. You don't got to have the electric spark, because sometimes the electric spark only gets you so far. It's just knowing how to keep your head down and win. And I think that's what some of those guys that had they've done it for 20 years and they still continue to make it all the time, is that they just know how to win,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this is what makes it fun, man. This is when the fourth quarter gets fun as a spectator like me, a fan. I know what it's like to have your blood pressure up and what it feels like behind the curtain. So I appreciate you. I know you came in at 5:30. I know it's, only slept for a couple hours. Come on the podcast. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time. It's just fun, like this time of year, what the fourth quarter feels like. Guys that are out there behind the curtain on the road when it's hot and the road's dusty, and the winning right there is scarce, and you have to have it. And it's getting down to that time of year where it's getting fun to watch. So appreciate you coming
Yes.
on, brother. Thanks, man.
You betcha. You betcha.
All right. Well, kick their ass out there and keep them feet together for Logan. He's getting older,
That's right. I know. And he's getting kind of senile, so I'm trying to take care of him the best I can.
That's right. That's right. All right, man. Do good out there. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Okay. See you, Chuck. Thanks.